Before we get started, I'd just like to begin by acknowledging my colleagues who are here on the line. We have Councilmember Aviles, Councilmember Kagan, Councilmember Carr, Councilmember Caban, Councilmember Barron, Councilmember Felice, Councilmember Dinowitz, and that is who I am seeing for now. So good morning, everyone. I am Councilmember Pierina Sanchez, Chair of the Committee on Housing and Buildings. I want to thank you all for joining today's hearing. Today, the committee will hear an introduction in relation to the continuation of New York City rent stabilization law of 1969 and a resolution determining that a public emergency requiring rent control in the city of New York continues to exist. The city is still in a housing emergency, and this council has a responsibility in this case to take measures to protect tenants, especially those who are most vulnerable. Today, the committee will hear from the Department of Housing Preservation and Development, as well as from housing advocates, members of the real estate industry, and other key stakeholders. A few council members, I won't name them here, and I are working together on a letter that will be going to HPD, DOB, FDNY. There does need to be increased coordination. It's not acceptable for agencies to disagree on very interventions. And so thank you for your advocacy on behalf of your building, on behalf of yourself. We will be looking into it and we'll be circling back to you very soon. Thank you.
We will now hear from Chelsea Spencer, followed by Bryant Wells and Kelsey Fairhurst.
Time starts now.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today and for your attention to something of a particular issue concerning our building. My neighbors and I are here today on behalf of the Opera House Lofts Tenants Union, which represents 26 units and over 50 residents. And we'd like to talk about an issue concerning the converted loft building we live in at 27 Arian Place in Bushwick. We've prepared a shared testimony that we'd like to read in 5 2-minute pieces. So specifically, we are here today to ask for your support in persuading the Department of Buildings to conduct a full inspection of our building, which they neglected to do when they recently issued a residential certificate of occupancy for our address, thus blocking our application for loft law protection, which we submitted in 2020. To explain why an inspection is necessary, we will tell you about the recent history of our building and our concerns about its safety and habitability. Our landlords own 40 multi-unit buildings across Brooklyn and Queens, including many converted loft buildings. In the early 2000s, they bought and began converting our building, which is a historic choir hall, into rental apartments. And for this project, they hired an architect who has a notorious history with the DOB for failing to comply with building codes. And so based on this history and our own lived experience here at 27 Arian Place, we know that our landlords cannot be trusted to address the safety and habitability issues here and at their other buildings. And so my neighbor, if possible, we kind of planned a trade-off thing. Could Sylvie Wise testify next?
Sure.
Sorry for the choreography. Thank you very much.
Sure. We'll now turn to Sylvie Wise.
Hi, thank you guys for your flexibility and for letting us speak here today. And thank you, Chelsea, for that introduction. My name is Sylvie Wise. I've been a resident at 27 Arian Place since 2020. And to pick up where Chelsea left off, fire safety is our number one concern. We have been feeling particularly fearful about these issues in our building following the horrifying news of the Bronx apartment fire earlier this year. This deadly tragedy was the result of 2 building maintenance issues, cold indoor temperatures and a broken self-closing door mechanism. Our building is full of similar issues, including insufficient fire protection on wood joists, illegal heating units, illegal mezzanines, lack of proper egress, and indeed many doors that do not self-close. Not only would these conditions in combination prove deadly in the event of a fire, they also make a fire more likely. In April of this year, the FDNY confirmed our fears when they issued several Class 1 or immediately hazardous fire code violations for non-compliant sprinklers and dangerous problems with heater ventings and valves. In addition, our landlords have neglected to maintain the building in ways that impact our daily lives. These issues have been left to fester for many years, but in recent months, our landlords have performatively responded to violations issued by the DOB and FDNY by rushing to fix cosmetic issues throughout the building. Meanwhile, the more serious issues remain unaddressed. My neighbor, Richard McGuire, will now elaborate on loft law application process, and we hope that you all will consider holding the DOB accountable for the safety of our building.
Richard McGuire.
Hi, thank you, council members, for listening to me speak today. My name is Richie McGuire, and I've been in 27 Arion Place since 2009. Now, please bear with me because in my public speaking class in college, I apparently switched accents, and this is quite scary for me, but here we go. In 2020, I joined my neighbors in applying for loft law protection, hoping that the process and the oversight of the municipal agencies would ensure that the issues in our building would be addressed. We were not surprised when the landlord opposed our efforts. What was surprising and extremely disheartening was that the DOB worked against us, choosing instead to cooperate with our landlord in an attempt to invalidate our right to seek loft law protection. By taking advantage of the DOB's confusing and inconsistent record for our building. When we submitted our loft law application, the DOB had no residential certificate of occupancy for a file on our building, located at 1127 Arion Place. Next door to a building, there is a small vacant lot, 9 Arion Place. It was for this address of this vacant lot in 2005, the DOB granted a CO for 70 apartment hotels. Even if we assume, and we do not, that the issuance of this CO for the wrong address, the wrong lot number, and the wrong bin was simply, as our landlords have claimed, an innocent clerical error, there are other inconsistencies in the descriptions in the CO and alteration filings that can be reconciled neither with the characteristics of the building that was built in 1886 as a choir hall, nor with the building that stands today as our home. These concern not only the height of the building and the number of stories. These concern not only the height of the building and the number of stories, but also, far more worrying, the construction classification based on fire-resistant ratings. My neighbor will elaborate on our attempts to communicate with the DOB. Thank you for considering and asking the DOB to conduct a full inspection of our building. And I hope I didn't change accents. Thank you. My neighbor, Kelsey, will now take over.
Thanks very much. We will now hear from Kelsey Fairhurst, followed by Bryant Wells.
My name is Kelsey Fairhurst, and I've lived in the building for 8 years. Our attorney has sent multiple letters to the DOB providing substantial details about the building's non-code compliance. As tenants, we too have made several attempts to communicate directly with the DOB about the issues of our building, requesting inspections and meetings. The DOB has completely ignored all of them. In February of this year, we organized a walkthrough of our building and our units. We invited elected officials, their staff, and the DOB. The DOB declined to attend. We have only once received an official response from the DOB regarding our complaints. It was a cryptic letter saying that our complaints had been administratively closed prior to inspection. We suspect this was to avoid oversight. Ignoring our concerns, the DOB instead cooperated with our landlord in asking the Kings County Supreme Court to order a residential CO issued for the vacant lot adjacent to our building to be transferred to our address. Deferring to the DOB's authority and accepting our landlord's claim that the address listed was a typo, the judge declared the CO retroactively valid for our address. Never during this nearly 2-year process was an inspection of the building completed. Had such an inspection been carried out, there is no legal way that a CO, which is the document that is supposed to confirm the building complies with the law, could have been issued or transferred to our building. Bryant Wells will elaborate on the CO issue, and I hope you will consider asking the DOB to conduct a full inspection of our building.
Bryant Wells.
Hi, my name is Bryant Wells. Thank you all for your time today. So Yeah, my name is Bryant, and I've lived in this building since, I want to say like 2005 or 2006. And so just picking up from where Kelsey left off. So the legal fiction of this transferred C of O thus papers over a reality that we tenants must live with every day, regardless of the address. The Opera House Lofts building is patently neither safe nor code compliant. The C of O, which we know is invalid, also blocks our right to loft law protection. And we have every reason to believe that the loft law is the only recourse that we have to protect our rights to safe, stable, and affordable housing. To distract from the real issues at play, our landlords have repeatedly accused us of trying to take advantage of what they say is nothing more than a typo. Given our landlords' documented history of finding remarkably inventive ways to skirt laws that were designed to protect New Yorkers in our building and other buildings around the district, and the DOB's documented history of being willing to look the other way, we find this excuse preposterous. The so-called typo is a red herring. The real issues we are here to speak about are our rights as loft tenants, community members, New Yorkers, and human beings to safe, stable housing. Our landlord's desire to continue to profit from the neglect of tenants throughout Brooklyn, and the DOB's willingness to aid them in pursuing this desire. If the DOB had not gone out of its way to cooperate with the landlords while refusing to even acknowledge our concerns about the safety and habitability of our building, we would now have loft law protection. So yes, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for considering our case and just hearing our story. And hopefully you can encourage the DOB to conduct a proper inspection of our building and buildings like it across New York.
Well, thank you so much. Was that the full list?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. And just one follow-up question: what are the sort of rights and protections that loft law would afford you all?
So any other members could chime in and expand on this, but basically the coverage under loft law would require the landlord to fix the issues and code violations that presently exist, and provide rent stabilization or during that time period until those changes are made.
Great, thank you. Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I would certainly, push you all to also make this known to the Department of Investigation. There is an Inspector General for the DOB. If you have not already done so, please do submit to them so they can look into the matter. And if you can follow up with our office, we'll be looking out for your written testimony. But if you could email us district14@council.nyc.gov with more information, we would be happy to look into it.
Great. Thank you so much.